What if you had incredible superpowers and you only wanted to use them to do as most good for as many people as possible? But every time you used those superpowers, you felt agonizing pain, the worst pain you've ever felt. Would you still try to help people, or would you just stop existing? The two mist creatures watched the earth spin. "Is any of them worthy?" one of them said. "No," the other said, "but one of them's close." The mist creatures nodded at each other and chose. He was sitting in his high school class, tapping his foot. He was so bored, watching the seconds tick by. Little did he know this was the last moment that Jason would be a normal person. The mist creatures burst into the room, breaking every single window of the public school classroom. Jason breathed in, and both of the mist creatures went inside his nose and mouth. He stopped existing. To an outsider person, it looked like he simply disappeared. But for Jason, it was so much worse. "Try to stay calm," one of the mist creatures said, as Jason's pain went from his arms, down his body, down his legs. "What's happening?" Jason said. He couldn't even see. His eyes had stopped existing. He was a cloud of mist floating up towards the sky. "You can control the density of your body, going from a gas to a solid liquid," one of the mist creatures said. "Really, it's a power few understand, but there are some side effects." Jason almost went insane from the pain, screaming and crying. Months later, Jason figured out how to form his body. He grit his teeth and thought about home, seeing his mom again. Do you know what it's like to be made out of mist and watch your mom cry for you, thinking that you're dead, thinking that you spontaneously combusted? Now, Jason forming his body, he struggled up the steps to his house and knocked on the door. It took every bit of his superpowers to stay solid as his mother opened the door. "Jason?" his mother said. Jason breathed in, but then immediately he went back to his mist form. When he was in his mist form, he could fly, he could expand infinitely, and most importantly, he had no pain. He floated across the earth, trying to think, who am I? What can I do with these abilities? How do I control them? There were times when he yelled at the mist creatures. "Will the pain ever stop?" Jason said. "No," the mist creatures said, "but we thought you might be worthy. Prove it to us." Things were getting worse all around Jason. Crime was way up, and there weren't enough superheroes to stop it. "I have superpowers," Jason said. "Good, so stop the crime," one of the mist creatures said. Jason tried to use his mist to form a giant, dense body where he could fight a man mugging a woman. But when the dense block fell in front of the woman, she just screamed, and the pain was too much. Jason went into misty vapor. He kept practicing with his powers, but the pain never went away. Jason's pain center simply adapted. "Why do you keep fighting?" one of the mist creatures said, the one that didn't believe in him. "If I don't keep fighting, who will?" Jason said, struggling to form himself. In the midst of all his pain, the creatures took pity on him. Only one of the two mist gods believed in Jason. As Jason suffered in the place between being a gas and being a solid, the mist creature spoke to him. "You can only become solid if you have a one-track mind," the mist creature said. "What?" Jason said. The pain was too much. He couldn't bear it. "Focus. Think about your body the way that it used to be." Jason struggled. "The mirror. When you looked at yourself in the mirror," the mist creature said. "Focus on that." As Jason formed his hands, his face, the pain was beyond anything Jason had ever experienced. Jason broke his arm when he was a kid. He remembered crying for hours. This was like the arm-breaking pain in every piece of him, every single aspect of him breaking to become solid out of the mist. "I can't," Jason said. "You can," the mist creature said. The other mist creature chuckled. "Just give up," the mist creature said. "We all know that a human can't take our gift. If you die, we can give it to someone else on another planet." No, Jason said. He thought about the superheroes he looked up to. He thought about all the people he could help if he got those abilities under control. Every day, every night, Jason felt the unyielding pain. And every night when the mist creature that didn't believe in him asked him if he wanted to give up, Jason screamed, "No!" He thought about his mom, the way that she looked at him. He thought about the curse that he had, how he could turn it into a gift. He thought about the hero he could be. Jason always loved drawing superheroes. He had a name in mind, Mistman. But how could he become Mistman if it hurt so bad? Finally, Jason saw something that only a superhero could stop. A giant 7-foot man with his arms crossed, floating through a city. People walking by started levitating next to him, their eyes white, becoming slaves of his. "Soon all will fall for the levitator," the man said, smiling. "Is anybody going to stop?" Jason said, watching him in his mist form. "You wanted to be a superhero," one of the mist creatures said, the mist creature that believed in him. "Show them." Jason grit his teeth and prepared for the pain. He thought about his mother's face, seeing him disappear again in front of her. He thought about all the pain he'd caused others, the suffering. If he'd caused so much pain to them, it was only right that he could stop some pain for others. He formed a giant, dense body, landing in front of the levitator. The levitator waved his hand, bored, but Jason resisted his mind control. "Not human, are you?" the levitator said, smiling. Jason smirked. He turned into mist. The levitator was confused. Invisible? He fanned out his slaves, looking, but he couldn't quite see. Jason's mist form appeared right next to the levitator's face. He grabbed the creature by the neck and became dense enough to crash through the floor. The levitator was so strong nobody ever touched him. He was frail and weak. He fell through into a subway tunnel. The levitator screamed in rage. His slaves levitated, going towards Jason, but he turned his body into a mist. The mist creatures were in shock. "How are you doing this?" one of them said. Jason let a creature pass through him, then became dense and punched the levitator in the face. "The pain is part of being alive," Jason said, putting the levitator into a headlock, freeing his mind-controlled slaves from his control. "If I'm going to stay alive, I'm always going to be in pain." Jason smiled. "I may as well be a superhero while I do it." There was no crime in the city anymore. There were whispers about the hero that sacrificed everything to protect them. And every time a supervillain came in, they knew the wrath. They heard the whispers of Jason before they saw him, but he wasn't called Jason anymore. They heard the whispers of Mist Man. The world knew him as Mist Man, but to one person, one mother, she was just happy that her baby was still alive. Jason laughed, sitting on the couch with his mom, watching TV. "Are you in pain right now, sweetie?" his mom said. And even though Jason felt enough pain to kill 100 people, even though he was barely keeping his atoms together, and he wanted to be so thin and misty that he could never form a body again, Jason turned to his mom and smiled with no strain on his face. Smiled because he was alive and because this moment was perfect. "I'm always in pain, Mom, but I love you," Jason said.